South Korea is in Eastern Asia, the southern half of the Korean peninsula bordering the Sea of Japan and the Yellow Sea. It is mostly hills and mountainous in the east, where the Taebaek Mountains dominate the landscape. The rugged land slopes west into the undulating, flatter coastal plains where most of its people live, and usable agricultural land is found. It is a temperate biome with heavy rainfall during the summer and very cold winters. South Korea is infamous for air pollution in large cities, acid rain, water pollution from the discharge of sewage and industrial effluents, and drift net fishing. One of South Korea's issues is polluted water. In the past 6 years since 2011, the South Korean government has really stepped up in enforcing environmental policies because of rising concerns for public health. One of their solutions was using nuclear power as a green alternative to coal-fired power plants, but it hasn't been completely beneficial for South Korean citizens. Nuclear power plants resort to managing their waste by exporting them to the oceans, rivers, and ponds, which leads to heavy consequences of water pollution. It has made tap water unsafe to consider drinking, so citizens commonly boil or filter the tap water to be safe. South Korea is the fifth largest user of nuclear power and it has a huge reliance on it, which is leading to water pollution and interruption of water systems. The government must contribute funds to fix these constant problems from nuclear waste management. Many solutions have been proposed in aiding South Korea's water pollution issue, but the safest and most realistic is reprocessing. Basically, this would mean slowly substituting nuclear power with a much safer and common alternative such as crude oil or coal. The second option would be to have the nuclear power plants store spent fuel in metal and concrete-covered dry casks, where it could be stored for up to 100 years. To build these casks for the country's existing spent fuel would cost up to $2.6 billion. Finally, the cost of power processing could offer some relief further down the line. South Korea has strong beliefs on improving their environment, but their reliance on nuclear power is contradicting that idea. The main focus they need is improving their environmental standing by reducing nuclear use. Another form of pollution that Korea faces is air pollution. Due to booming urbanization and reliance on coal energy, Korea's inescapable polluted air has led to many detrimental health impacts on its citizens. Over the past decade, the fossil fuel share of South Korea's electricity generation increased from 51 to 64%, with energy coming primarily from coal. The main cause for air pollution has been identified as coal by the Korea Environmental Institute, which revealed that new fossil-fired plants would increase air pollution from the energy industry by approximately 50%. Individuals are directly affected by this when air particles get trapped inside their lungs and bodily tissues, entering the bloodstream and leading to a number of illnesses. The country's high suicide rates have even been linked to concentrations of air pollutants. To address the air pollution, South Korea's government has passed numerous policies in hopes of improving the state of air quality. The Special Act on Metropolitan Air Quality Improvement was passed in 2003, and the efforts produced a positive result as the yearly mass of airborne coal waste fell greatly. However, though there has been clear improvement over the past decade, the country's performance is still amongst the global worst. To improve its poor air quality, Korea needs its government to steer away from its dependency on coal energy. South Korean President Moon Jae-in had this in mind when, on his fifth day in power, shut down 10 major coal power plants across the country. The government should continue to enforce such enactments and seek to avoid the fate of deaths of millions of its country's citizens. An additional environmental problem of South Korea is acid rain. Though acid rain does not pose much of a threat by itself, the threat comes from when it is coupled with the disregard of proper environmental practices. Acid rain shows that there are high amounts of sulfur or nitrogen that is combined with the water vapor in the air to create sulfur trioxide or nitrate. These chemicals likely come from the exhaust from local coal-burning factories. Most of the acid rain that affects South Korea comes from areas of China where the wind blows the exhaust from coal-burning factories into South Korea. It causes damage in numerous ways. The previously acidic soil becomes even more acidic, which makes it inefficient for agricultural practices. Some problems that could occur from acid rain are eutrophication of small lakes caused by the excess nitrogen from rain, or degradation of forests and farmland caused by the increase of acid in the soil, which may lead to erosion. This can negatively affect soil bacteria and fungi, which causes more problems of deforestation and farmland destruction. In summary, acid rain causes the health of the whole environment to suffer if proper countermeasures are not taken. To help improve the South Korean situation on the acid rain, the country created a treaty with surrounding Northeastern Asian countries to reduce coal emissions in 1999. However, nothing substantial came from the treaty. South Korea should continue to make countermeasures such as requiring companies that emit these two chemicals to make major reductions in their emissions to control acid rain's catastrophic repercussions on the country. Another major environmental issue prevalent in South Korea is the drift net fishing that has been sweeping the ocean clean for many decades. Drift net fishing is a technique used in the open seas where a long rectangular net hangs vertically in the water without being anchored to the ocean floor. The nets usually have floats attached to the top and weights strung along a rope on the bottom of the net. Because of the lack of selectivity in drift net fishing, overharvesting is a common occurrence and has been a rising concern since the 1950s when a change in the material and manufacturing made drift net fishing dangerous for all types and sizes of marine life. A commonly used term, bycatch, refers to many numbers of fish, sharks, turtles, birds, and other animals that were unintentionally caught by drift nets. Despite the lack of statistical information about the exact deaths drift nets have caused, the possibility that endangered species may be accidentally killed in these nets is a clear environmental problem occurring in Korea. Following Japan's ban on drift net fishing in 1991, the focus turned to South Korea to stop its illegal night fishing. The excessive bycatch of endangered species caught in drift nets raised ethical concerns worldwide. In 1993, the United Nations officially banned drift net fishing and began Operation Drift Net patrols of the North Pacific Ocean, and South Korea joined in 10 years after its commence, but drift net fishing has not stopped its entirety. To this day, South Korea continues to face problems with illegal fishing. About 1 year ago, South Korea's government promised it would use lethal force to stop the illegal fishing in their waters. Additionally, South Korea faces the environmental issue of soil erosion due to the country's perfect breeding ground for it, a temperate climate with high rainfall. On average, there are around 45 inches of rain during the months of July and August, making the topsoil very likely to erode greatly in a short amount of time. Since it takes around 500 years to replace an inch of topsoil, managing this issue has proved to be difficult for South Korea. This also has not been made easy due to deforestation. Trees are being cut down and dying from a lack of good soil because of lack of vegetation to hold it in place. As a result, crop productivity and water storage capacity have caused water pollution and nutrient depletion in the soil. When it rains in the mountains, the loose sediment runs downhill and into the rivers, elevating the riverbeds and increasing the risk of flash flooding. To tackle soil erosion, the South Korean government has reduced the amount of deforested land from 10 to 1.5% through 2 successful 10-year programs to increase vegetation and prevent landslides and hold on to the topsoil. Along with more plant life, Korea has implemented terrace farming along the mountainside. This form of agriculture forms steps along the natural geography of the land, helping keep soil in place and preventing landslides. With technological advances and better knowledge of the earth, South Korea is a prime example of how the world should combat soil erosion. As a whole, Korea is a country that is booming and thriving financially through its urban and technological development. The country's government and its citizens must now address the potential ramifications that may occur from the environmental issues of water and air pollution, acid rain, drift net fishing, and soil erosion. By actively working to implement laws and encouraging citizens to reduce individual contributions, the Korean government can both preserve the nation's environment and protect the lives of the Korean people.